Welcome to Garden Dreams and Other Things. It is a chilly day here in East Tennessee, and I'm actually filming in my neighbor's yard. She has more space. If I tried to film in my yard, I would have the camera in the middle of the road, so this works much better. You can see how beautiful the countryside is here in East Tennessee. But it is chilly. It's what a lot of people call dogwood winter, which is quite appropriate because we're going to talk about dogwood, the dogwood tree today. And once the tulips and the daffodils are in bloom, the next thing in my garden that starts to bloom is the dogwood tree. Now, dogwoods are native to East Tennessee, and you can actually find them in the eastern United States, not just in East Tennessee. In our little town, it's very common for somebody to have a dogwood in their tree. In fact, there are places when you get to the center of town where there are rows of pink and white dogwood. It's really quite beautiful to see, and I always look forward to driving through town to see the color. They grow in zones 5 to 9. They're usually found on the edge of a forest and under the canopy of trees. They prefer full sun, and but the best situation for them is if they can get morning sun till, say, around 3 o'clock, and then shade after that. And the other thing that's interesting about them is that if you have them in that situation, that as opposed to having them deeper in the forest or under some heavier shaded trees, if they're in that scenario, they tend to get kind of thin and they don't really look healthy. But if you have them in the right setting, then they will get full and bushy and beautiful. My dogwood usually blooms in mid-April. Now, in some areas that they can bloom from March to mid-May. And the other thing I want to talk about is what we call the bloom. It's the pictures that you see all the time of the dogwood bloom, but the actual bloom is not those white, what we call petals. But those are called bracts, B-R-A-C-T-S, and that is a modified leaf. It's not an actual petal, but it's a modified leaf. And the bracts are the outside, and the actual bloom of the flowers are tiny blooms that are set in the very center. The very center of that is where the actual blooms are. And the white, the bracts, is what attracts the pollinators. After they bloom, then in that same area where you have the blooms, then the berries start to pop up. And in the summer, they are orange, and then when you get into the fall, they turn bright red. And this is one of the things that the birds and squirrels love to eat. So if you're thinking about having wildlife in your garden, then the dogwood is a tree that you should consider having in your garden. They're perfect for small yards. My yard is very small, and I have it in the front, and I just have that one tree, and it really gives a good burst of the white color against my house is blue, and it just really looks really beautiful like that. And it provides just enough shade to keep the front yard pretty cool. You can also do them in a large yard, and maybe you want to think about grouping something together so it will be similar to how it is in its natural state. Maybe a larger tree or two, and then plant your dogwood close to it, maybe a smaller bush next to that blooms in a different color around the same time. I think that it will work well, but especially if you do as we were talking about, to where it gets the morning sun and shade in the afternoon. The other thing I want to mention is that you have to be patient with a dogwood. It's a slow grower. So if you're a person who's not patient, then you may want to choose another tree. Otherwise, if you wait year after year, you're going to have that color come back. The maintenance on the dogwood is minimal. I've never had to do anything with my dogwood except that if a branch breaks off or if I need to cut off a branch, I can do that. Other than that, there's nothing else I've had to do with it. So if you're considering what to put in your yard that gives you that beautiful white color in the first of spring, then I would recommend the dogwood. I want to thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time on Garden Dreams and Other Things.